We're smarter, and we're bringing clarity to women's health. So there was a recent report that talks about a $1 trillion economic impact due to the gap in the support for women's health. And at SmartHER, we want to use AI and XR to close this gap. We're co-founded by myself, Babak Mosadeh. I'm the director of the Dalio Institute of Cardiovascular Imaging, and we want to leverage a lot of the technologies that we've developed for cardiac space for women's health. I'm co-founded with Tamitha Fenster, who's an OB-GYN surgeon and the director of the Fibroid Institute, and we're supported by a great team of scientists and clinicians. So at first, we're going to start with uterine fibroids. The reason being is that it's one of the most prevalent benign tumors, and it itself has a $35 billion economic burden. Now, in general, there are two treatment options. You can either remove the entire uterus, which is a hysterectomy, or for many women who want to maintain their fertility, then they would do something that is a uterine preserving treatment like a myomectomy. And now with women choosing to have babies later on in life, more and more this is becoming an important problem to solve. Now, between those two options, there's actually a lot more that goes into it. There are several new types of procedures that have been developed that allow for minimally invasive procedures, but a lot of these are not actually provided as options to women. So the reason being is that based on your race, geography, socioeconomic placement, whether or not these are even provided as an option, sometimes is not even brought up as a discussion. So really what we want to do at SmartHER is to use AI to provide objective measures for why a particular procedure would be selected. Now, for the current clinical workflow and how we can integrate ourselves into this, the first step is actually just regular diagnostic imaging. This is either done with ultrasound or an MRI. That is then sent to a radiologist who then generates a text-based report. This report then is provided to the gynecologist who has to interpret it, do a consultation with the patient, and then that treatment plan is selected, and then a surgeon will execute on that. So here there are many points in which SmartHER can actually address. First off is actually the report itself. Instead of providing a text-based report, we can actually provide a comprehensive 3D imaging that then can be used as a point of reference to have this discussion with the patient themselves so they can fully understand what the patient burden has relative to the fibroids. Reason being is that the number of fibroids, the location of the fibroids, and the size of the fibroids all dictate which treatment plan is needed. Now, the radiologists, due to the high volumes, they actually only will probably talk about the top 2 to 3 fibroids that are there. And so since only a text-based report is provided, these decisions are being made on very incomplete information. And that is both incomplete to the physician and the patient themselves. In addition, when a surgeon goes in, they are going off of the memory if they look at the MRI images to go in. So therefore, what we can provide is actually these 3D renderings that can be shown on either a phone, tablet, or an XR headsets in order to allow for real-time guidance during surgery. So what we're developing is an end-to-end software that starts with uploading standard medical images as they're being taken now with standard of care. And what it allows is for the patient and the doctor to all be able to observe these 3D renderings in the same environment. And then this can be used for pre-procedural planning, and then surgeons can actually use that during the procedures to execute it according to that plan itself. We've already done a 20-person pilot study. From this, what we were able to observe is that we actually completely eliminated repeats of procedures that were actually occurred. So there were 0 repeats of procedures in the test and 3 in the control. In addition, from subjective qualitative surveys, we also see that there's just high agreement that the utility of utilizing this software during these procedures. We have an IP patent that's comprehensive that covers not only just the technology that I've observed, but also the ability to use these to actually have them integrated into robotic navigation, doing prognostics to actually predict which surgery plans you should do, and also to be able to predict how the surgeries can be performed by optimizing the paths for how certain fibroids should be removed. We have a dual business model that we want to pursue. The first one is to be a software as a medical device. This is where we'll first target teaching hospitals that we believe will be our early adopters. And we already have a CPT code that we can actually utilize to get insurance reimbursement. In addition, we want to sub-license our technology where we can integrate our AI algorithms, particularly the segmentation and the generation of 3D renderings, to be used in robotic surgeries and other devices, whether it's a big medical device or startups. And for that, we will charge a fee and collect royalties. So as I said, we're right now laser focused on uterine fibroids. However, we can expand this to endometriosis, ovarian cancer, and so that lets us get into the larger gynecologic space. And as we integrate this into other medical devices, it lets us to get into the larger $3 billion market for gynecologic devices. However, with just the first product offering that we talked about, with a conservative 1% market penetration, we expect that we'll be able to get upwards of 15 million in revenue just from that one product. We're asking for $2 million in order to support our 2-year pathway that will get us to a 510K, and then hopefully be able to raise a Series A that will allow for commercialization. We've already won a couple pitch competitions that have funded the work thus far, and we're now essentially applying for also non-dilutive SBIR funding. We already have conversations with several of the large medical device companies that are interested in licensing this technology as well. Thank you, and happy to answer questions.
So I'm going to ask a relatively basic question, and I got pieces of it from the presentation, but what is the actual product? Like, what is it? Is it the like MRI technology or ultrasound technology? Is it the software?
It is just the software itself. So we take standard imaging, it is uploaded, and then we process that, and then that is visualized using any standard hardware device. So we're just the software company.
Okay, so what's proprietary to you guys is you've developed a special way to analyze the images and the feedback that you're getting from imaging equipment that's already out there. Is that
correct? And a lot of our advantage is the fact that we have a lot of this training data that's available from Cornell to be able to train these AI models.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Could you talk more about the path, 510K clearance, and any other regulatory approvals you would need thereafter?
Yes. So I mean, there are a lot of predicate devices to be able to utilize this, and then because it's not invasive, we should have a clear 510K. Now, with that said, because for the CPT code that we want, it's not actually for our indication. So we probably still will need to do clinical studies to prove out that we have efficacy for the insurance companies to actually provide that. With that said, those efforts, we already have an IRB approval for a 90-patient study, and we believe that will be funded by our phase 2 award.
Thank you. Will there be channel conflict if you're both selling directly and also licensing your software to the, Medtronics of the world?
It's a great question, and I think that will just have to be based on an ideal basis. But
thank you.
Are there competitors out there that are doing similar or developing similar products?
So there definitely are. There's no one that we've seen that is taking this approach for the 3D visualization part of it. Usually what they're pursuing is actually just the visualization of the MRI scans themselves, or making the segmentations of the fibroids.
The 3D imaging, I guess what I'm trying to understand is the difference between what you're doing and what they're doing. So is the differentiation that you can give a 3D image of the patient herself, or how is yours different than, maybe you can just go into a little bit more detail about how yours is different than the competitors?
Sure. So what we're essentially doing is it's the automated process by which we actually are able to automatically segment the fibroids and then provide that holistic 3D rendering. Whereas the competitors that we have, typically they are just getting the MRIs themselves and then showing the MRI. And it's not actually this very intuitive 3D rendering that we're generating.
Can the same technology be used for other kinds of images, other kinds of renderings, like, for example, endoscopy, or pick your favorite?
Definitely. I would say it's 100% as a platform. This can be a platform technology. However, what I said is so much of what the real advantage is actually that the data that you're able to get. So that will require a lot of work to gather all that data and also process it. So that domain expertise will also need to be leveraged.